Alright guys, so ever since Tom Aspinall knocked out Sergey Pavlovich for the interim UFC heavyweight title, and now recently Tom Aspinall has knocked out Curtis Blades, people have been rightfully so, calling for Tom Aspinall to fight Jon Jones instead of Jon Jones fighting Stipe Miocic. And I can't help but feel like most people want to see this fight because they think that Jon Jones is going to lose and he's going to get knocked out, and Tom Aspinall is just going to be too much for him. And I feel like Jon Jones is kind of being underestimated in this matchup. I mean, this guy, he's not the greatest of all time for nothing. And in this video, I want to talk about why Jon Jones can definitely beat Tom Aspinall. He should probably be the favorite over Tom Aspinall. And people shouldn't be quick to write off Jon Jones or assume that he's going to get knocked out by these other heavyweights. Now, the first thing I want to get into and tell you guys why I don't think that Jon Jones should be an underdog against Tom Aspinall is his defense. His defense is something to be considered highly in a matchup like this, because I'm going to compare it to the defense of the other heavyweights, a significant striking defense. And this is important because Jon Jones is the best defensive fighter that Tom Aspinall will ever fight and has ever fought. He hasn't fought anyone that has the defense of Jon Jones. And Jon Jones knows when to disengage. He does a really good job of rolling with punches. He'll put his arm out there and then he'll pull his head back and move his head out the way and then circle off and cut an angle to get to safety. He's not going to walk in the pocket like Sergey Pavlovich and leave himself wide open to get hit, or he's not going to trade shots in the pocket like Curtis Blades did with Tom Aspinall just to get knocked out. He's not going to do that. He's going to fight smart. And against a guy like Alexander Volkov wasn't walking in the pocket like Sergey Pavlovich. He wasn't exchanging punches with Tom Aspinall. He knew when to disengage, when to get to safety, when to put his hands up and roll the punches, and he didn't get knocked out by Tom Aspinall. He got taken down and submitted. And Jon Jones is a guy who has higher striking defense than a guy like Alexander Volkov. And whenever Tom Aspinall tries to cross the distance and come into range, Jon Jones isn't only going to be disengaging, he's going to be engaging in the clinch. When Tom Aspinall is going to come at him, he's going to duck under the shots and then go into a clinch or go into a takedown and land some shots from there. We've seen that Jon Jones is strong at heavyweight. We saw what he did with Cyril Gane. And there are some stories from 8 years ago that people were saying that when Jon Jones was a light heavyweight, he was ragdolling some heavyweights and having his way with them. And we haven't really seen anyone in the UFC test Tom Aspinall's ground game. We've seen a bunch of guys very dominant when they're having their way and they can control their opponents and everything, but they can be put on their back and they're not as successful. Also, something that Jon Jones is going to do that no heavyweight has done against Tom Aspinall is to constantly occupy that space, constantly break Tom Aspinall's rhythm. Tom Aspinall, he's very quick if you let him. He can have his way if you let him, but Jon Jones isn't. He's going to be constantly throwing those side kicks to the knees, trying to, tear Aspinall's knee up to shreds. And we've already seen Tom Aspinall deal with a nasty knee injury. Jon Jones, he's going to be going for that. He's going to be targeting that knee. He's going to be trying to stomp it out from the moment that bell rings, that the start of the first round. He's going to constantly be going for it. When he's going to have an answer for when you're coming at him, he's going to be retreating. He's either going to do that or go into a clinch or a takedown. And when you're just in that middle space, he's going to be disrupting your rhythm by stomping your knee or grabbing your hands or just doing something to poke you constantly and just get you out of your rhythm. And another problem for Tom Aspinall is the fact that Jon Jones probably studies his opponents like no other fighter and no other heavyweight for sure. I'm going to play this clip, but yeah, the way he's able to break his opponents down is, unseen, and it's just different than everyone else.
I study everybody extensively, and then I come up with their patterns. I figure out the way they flinch. I figure out their first favorite punch, their second favorite punch, their third, their favorite combinations, their setups to their takedowns, when they clinch, what side their head's going to be on. Literally everything.
So Jon Jones is going to be studying Tom Aspinall like crazy. He's gonna know everything about him. And one opening that I personally found on Tom Aspinall is that you can intercept him when he's coming at you. And I talked about this in my How Curtis Blades Beats Tom Aspinall video. And I think that this could apply to John Jones. And John Jones has shown the ability to intercept his opponents when they were kind of blitzing forward and entering the pocket with a combination similar to how Tom Aspinall does it. Another opening that John Jones could exploit, well, that last one I talked about, he can do the same with a takedown. Whenever Tom Aspinall blitzes in, he can just duck under him and get a takedown. But the other opening I was talking about is the one with the body shots. I think that body shots are open on Tom Aspinall. He likes to use a lot of head movement, and what he does, he just pulls his head back and leaves his body wide open for, kicks, punches. If you back him up against the fence, or if you can get him to move his head while being stationary, you can hit him with knees to the body, all types of things. And something else that makes John Jones dangerous for Tom Aspinall is the mental side of it. And John Jones, when in his last run at light heavyweight, when he fought Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes, you can tell that he just wasn't really motivated for those guys, because everyone knew he was going to beat them, and everyone thought that he was going to beat them. So he wasn't really training as hard. You can tell that John Jones is a guy that he's so talented, right, that he doesn't really have to always work that hard to still get the victory. But in this fight, everyone is saying that, or maybe not everyone, but a lot of people are saying that Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion. Tom Aspinall will knock John Jones out. Tom Aspinall is just too much for John Jones, and people are saying that John Jones is ducking the Tom Aspinall. John Jones is constantly having to defend himself. He's under fire. He's under pressure. And I think that this is going to bring a different side of John Jones, a side of John Jones that we saw in the second Daniel Cormier fight. Yes, he was on PDs, but he still had a career best performance. And even against Cyril Gane, I thought that Cyril was going to beat John Jones. A lot of people thought that Cyril was going to beat John Jones based on his last couple performances, the Thiago Santos fight, the Dominic Reyes fight. But John Jones came back. He really took Cyril Gane seriously. I mean, this guy was studying tape on Cyril Gane while Cyril was playing FIFA. Like, this guy was just completely locked in. He was like studying even when Cyril was going to sleep, all types of things. He even brought in David Goggins. I mean, there's no way he was losing that fight when you look back at it. But yeah, he was taking it very seriously. But to play devil's advocate, John Jones has struggled a lot with guys who are taller and like match him in terms of height and reach, like Dominic Reyes or an Alexander Gustafsson. He didn't really have that reach where he can, really use it to his full advantage against a shorter opponent. Also, he looked pretty slow against Cyril Gane when he was striking. He was like winding up big on some hooks. He wasn't retreating as fast as he would. He wasn't really retracting his punches. He just looked slow. And there's a reality that he's had a long career. He's like 37 now. Tom Aspinall could clip him with something and actually drop him. So John Jones could very well lose this fight, but at the same time, we don't really know that much about Tom Aspinall. We haven't really seen him deal with that much adversity in the cage. And this is what makes this fight really interesting, because John Jones isn't going to go out by a jab, but we'll see what happens.